But what's coming up next is a very, very interesting panel because often we hear how universities, not just in Estonia, but all over the Baltics and even the Nordics, how do universities work together with businesses? We know that it's pretty difficult to see successful examples where university innovation has really made it into the markets from Estonian universities or from Latvian or Lithuanian, thank you, Lithuanian universities. So I think the next speaker will be a fantastic example of how we can join universities working with businesses, because his experience as the VP of Research and Development at Philips for years, while still being associated with the top universities of Europe, I would like to call to the stage Dr. Willem Jonker. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, it's a pleasure for me to be here in Tallinn. And actually, if you ask me, how did you come to Tallinn, then I can tell you that that went from Amsterdam through San Francisco, because that's where I met Richard, who then invited me to give a talk on what we are doing. What I would like to do is to tell you a little bit about our organization, but then focus more on the topics that are very, very current today, and that's the topic of digital transformation, you've heard it before, and the platform economy. But what was also announced is that if you look at our organization, which is called EIT Digital, and it's part of EIT, and EIT stands for the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. And the institute was set up because it was felt that the European competitiveness is lagging behind when you look to other parts of the world. And where on the one hand, Europe is very strong when it comes to science, you see that Europe is not that good in translating these science results into economic and societal value. And if you ask me, what is EIT Digital about? I would say it's a human capital agenda. Because if you want to have societal and economic value, you need to have two key ingredients. You need to have the skilled, creative, intelligent, entrepreneurial people that make it happen. And you need to have the innovative, disruptive technology to make progress. What we are doing is we are mobilizing this at a European level. And actually, you could also say we are building a pan-European ecosystem. So that's the three pillars of our organization. A pan-European ecosystem, an education pillar, which makes sure that we have the right skills, and an innovation pillar, which brings the disruptive technologies to the table that are needed. If we look at our pan-European ecosystem, then we started in 2010 in 5 countries. Meanwhile, we are in 9, the green ones, and we are preparing for the next wave of extension, which is the colored ones, and Estonia is in that next wave. You see how our partnership has developed, and I'll get back to that later. There's a big confusion that R&D automatically will lead to innovation. And that's something what you saw when we started as well. And when you look at the evolution of our partnership, where we moved from around 30 in 2010 to 150 today that we mainly expanded our industrial footprint. So we expanded our geographic footprint, but with that mainly our industry footprint. An industry footprint does not mean large corporates. It does mean a whole range of industries from really startups, scale-ups, SMEs, mid-sized companies, and indeed the large corporates. We do not address just any topic. We've decided to focus on 4 areas of digital transformation, and I listed them here. It's a transformation of our industry, the 4th industrial revolution. It's well-being, the transition from a corrective healthcare system to preventive healthcare system. It's our cities that are transforming, and it's our digital infrastructure, which is a driver when it comes to this digital transformation. And within those areas, we're focusing on deep tech. And I want to say a few words on that. So first of all, I want to address the myth of increasing TRL means innovation. A lot of people think that if you further develop the technology, that innovation will come by itself. And all approaches that are just focused on TRL increasement will really not bring you innovation. Because R&D and TRL is about technology sophistication. But innovation is about product market fit, which is a complete different dimension. And when we talk about deep tech, we are playing in the quadrant at the upper corner. It's the quadrant where you have deep technology as a base for innovation and disruption. We run a pan-European accelerator where we address scaling up ventures at a European level. And I will get back to a few issues we have in Europe when it comes to scaling up. You see some facts about our accelerator. We started focusing more on startups in 2012, but we moved in 2014 completely towards scale-ups. And if you know that in the UK, when I was talking to the deputy mayor of London a few weeks ago, he told me in the UK, 600,000 companies are created every year. So company creation is not so much the issue. The issue is that out of these 600,000, almost nobody makes it to a global enterprise. That's the problem we're facing. I think for those who are running ventures with scale-up ambitions, we have our accelerator and we have our challenge. And the challenge is a competition where you can participate to get entry into our accelerator and to compete against the best ventures across Europe. One example is Konux. Konux was founded in 2014, and it's actually an industrial IoT solution with really deep technology, smart sensor technology, advanced AI algorithm in it, and it was one of the scale-ups we took into our accelerator, and we helped them to raise, meanwhile, 16 million by 2017, as we are today. But we also helped them to get great customers. And one of the big customers, they are now in a pre-commercial procurement activity, is with Deutsche Bahn. And you see a quote from the CEO of the accelerator. So that's our niche. This is where we are operating. Deep tech ventures that want to scale up very quickly and want to really become world-class companies. But as I said, we're also a human capital agenda. Without education, there is no innovation. So we're doing a couple of education streams within our organization, but we're also helping our universities to change their education system, to make it more fit with the needs that our society has. What are the elements that come in? Of course, it's online education. However, I do not believe that online education will replace on-campus education. We operate so-called co-locations in 9 countries in Europe. And I very often get the question, people asking me, why do you have these large offices where you bring together students, entrepreneurs, business people? Why? Because the world is digital. You can do it from every place. And then my answer is, did you ever have an intense brainstorm for 5 hours in a video conference system? So physical presence, serendipity are elements that are very much linked to arbitrary encounters in a physical environment. We launched on the Coursera platform last summer our first MOOCs. And when I visited them in January to discuss further our strategy, we had already 30,000 students on our courses, which is a proof that Europe really brings world-class education. The only thing is that we should not only bring this world-class education to the rest of the world, but we should also use it ourselves to really boost our economic and societal impact. The platform economy. What's the platform economy? The platform economy is the economy of the network effects. It's the economy of the winner takes it all. Maybe you read the book From Zero to One. And you see from Peter Thiel, one of the PayPal founders, you see the story. What's very important in the the platform economy is data. Data is the oil of that economy. It is driven by de facto standardization. We were talking a lot about digital passports, digital identity, and so on. Well, I can tell you a secret. The digital passport is issued by Facebook. New business models and very different cooperation models. What you see is that the platform economy allows you to develop asset-light or even asset-less companies. Uber doesn't own any taxis. Airbnb doesn't own any hotels. So that is where the platform economy is all about. And then things go very fast. The digital world is by definition a global world. I show you a picture here of cross-border bandwidth usage. And you've seen that in the last decade, this increased by a factor of 45, and it will still increase by a huge factor in the next 7 years to come. Again, roughly 10 times as much. So that's cross-border terabits per second. Trump would say it's huge. We saw what will be the biggest economies in 2050. Well, I can tell you today, the biggest economy is Facebook. And the second one is China. And then we have India, and then we have a couple of digital countries again. It's very funny what you see. On the one hand, we all see that the world is very global, that everything is very, very global. At the same time, you see an enormous national pride. If you follow the discussions here about the Nordics, Finland, Estonia, very much national pride, and rightly so. So we are living in a schizophrenic world, where on the one hand, we have our national pride, and I'm very proud to have a guy from Utrecht in the audience. And at the same time, we all understand that the world is flat and global. And this is what you see is the struggle that our society is going through at the moment. And is this special? This is not special at all. Every industrial revolution has shown this. So it's nothing new, just look back, apply the old rules, and live on happily after. Why is Google not European? Or is that the right question? The main thing that is very often brought to the table is that there is a fragmentation in Europe. But you have to really understand what is then this problem of fragmentation. Because Facebook, Amazon, faces the same European fragmentation than European players do. So why are they successful in Europe? So fragmentation in itself is not the issue. The main issue is that when you want to scale up, you need a solid base market and then quickly grow. And either you do that from your home base, and then of course, a large market is very useful, and that's why it's easier in the US, where the market is more homogeneous than you have it here. However, if you know that your market is fragmented, you should have a fragmented approach for growth and just combine it over there and build it into your system. For Europe to really play in the digital transformation and the platform economy, we need a global platform mindset in digital innovation. I don't know whether you know these, but it doesn't really matter, because they're all gone. Hives was a Dutch Facebook where everybody was on, out of business. Internet was the illusion that the French government had that the internet stops at the borders of France. Minitel, gone. StudiVZ was the German version of Facebook. Gone. National digital platforms have no future. However, we're not doing that bad in Europe. There is light, but too few. Booking.com, a Dutch organization. I assume that most of you use it. Rovio, we just had one of the people that was quite prominently there. Spotify, also from this region. So there are possibilities of doing it. However, if you look at the picture of the platform economy, it doesn't look that great for Europe. And this only gray bubble there is SAP, which still, by the way, takes most of its revenue out of the R3 platform that was developed in the last century. This is an alarming picture. Are there opportunities? Of course, there are always. There are new areas which are not taken yet. and where there are a lot of opportunities for us Europeans to jump in, is the digital industry. It's digital mobility. It's digital health. And it's the IoT 5G platforms, where traditional Europe played a very important role. We at EIT Digital work in these different domains with specific orchestrated activities that will lead to the development of European platforms. One important technology platform that's developed is FIWare. It's a middleware platform that supports all kind of application-oriented platforms that you see above. And I want to focus a little bit on one of those areas, and that's the fourth industrial revolution. And it was already mentioned before, the fourth industrial revolution is not about automating a machine, but it is about a total redesign of the chain from product design to product delivery to the consumer, which involves co-design, which involves logistic, which involves personalized production, and which involves delivery through a 3D printer just around the corner, rather than having to ship it in containers from China. So that will completely change the way we manufacture. It will also have a big impact on our cities. It will bring a lot of economic activities back into the cities. What we have observed in the cities was a situation where the cities were self-contained. The production was taking place in workshops in the cities themselves. What you've seen then is a phase where this production was brought outside of the cities. And what you will see with digital technology, and for example with 3D printing, that this production will come back into the cities. So it will change not only the layout of the cities, what was discussed before, but also the way cities work and the footprint of the cities. There's one specific initiative that I want to lift out, because that's where we are working on building a European platform to drive digital industry. And what we have is an approach of open innovation, where on the one hand, we have the powerful big players behind that can make sure that this can be rolled out at a global level, Siemens in this case. And at the same time, we use open source technology so that we have inclusive development of those platforms, FIWare. And one of the topics that we are addressing is predictive maintenance. Predictive maintenance is about doing your maintenance at the right time, which is an enormous cost optimization problem. Why do we think that we are good at this? There's one area where Europe is really strong, and that's the area of combining the digital world with the physical world. In the old days, this was called embedded systems. It's now more trendy to talk about cyber-physical systems. But that's where physical technology and digital technology come together. And if you look at Europe, we have a lot of very strong, very high quality production facilities still in Europe. I think all of the world still believes, at least, that the best cars are made in Germany. The real car innovation, though, came from Silicon Valley with Tesla. It's also something to be a bit aware of. I won't go into the details, but you see the platform approach in the architecture. But what for me is much more important is that building an industry transformation platform is not just about technology. It is about skills. It is about ecosystem. It's building a network of competence centers and innovation hubs across Europe. And we were able to convince our partners that that would be the next step to go. So that's why we are now building a whole network in Europe of digital innovation hubs and competence center to help our industry make that digital transformation. And again, that's something completely different from just making a automation of part of your production. So to conclude, what I would like you to take away from this is that if you really want to be successful, then you have to understand the dynamics of these platform economies. You have to understand the impact of digital transformation. And if you understand that well, then you can position your own venture entrepreneurial activity in the right context, which largely increases your chances of success. Because once again, Europe does not lack startups. There's more than enough startups. What we are lacking is startups that start from the right basis and build under the right understanding of how the digital economy, how the digital transformation, how the platform economy works. Thank you.
We are running out of time, but if someone has a really quick question, we can take one.
A burning question? The troops are getting restless, see? We're going into the lunchtime. But I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Those are, I think, really worthwhile comments. A little gift for you. Thank you. And there's going to be a picture right there.
Okay, the picture.